We have playoff basketball coming to your TV soon. This coming weekend, the New York Knicks face off against the Detroit Pistons in the first round, and we're going to talk all about it.
Run that intro.
They're playing basketball. Basketball.
You're listening to the Knicks Nation podcast, where we've got all your Knicks needs covered.
Puts up a three. Bang! Bang! He ties the game!
Now, live from the city that never sleeps, here are your hosts, Anthony and Chris.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We have playoff basketball coming soon. We've made it 82 games down. The Knicks finished the season 51-31. I'm here joined by my podcast co-host, Chris. Chris is back. We're going to talk Knicks, Pistons, first round, everything you need to know, X Factors, all the good stuff. Got the poll in the YouTube chat. Make your predictions. Hit the chat. Appreciate you guys in the chat once again. Christian, how are you?
And I'm doing good. Good weekend, you know. Knicks finally got a win. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. But I don't know, man. Little shaky here coming towards, the end of the regular season and heading into the playoffs, but I'll leave it at that. How are you feeling tonight, Ant?
Little shaky. Ooh, you already set the mood for tonight. I want to be positive. Obviously, I think this Knicks team can beat this Pistons team. A lot can, happen, obviously, but I feel like this Knicks team is really set up to beat this Pistons teams. Although the Pistons have had our number in the regular season, I know they've had our number. They won 2 games in MSG, and they won a recent game in Detroit where the New York Knicks gave up a double-digit lead, and that cannot happen in the playoffs, Chris. So, yeah. So going back to your point, look, I understand your feeling. Look, the Knicks are kind of ending the season as not playing as the best version of themselves, right? And the Pistons are ending the seasons kind of playing as the best version of their self. Knicks are kind of lacking in identity right now currently, and that's the whole, that's a whole talking point in itself. The Knicks are lacking in identity. Pistons, you know who they are. They're tough. They're scrappy. They're led by a star point guard in Cade, Cunningham, who is an all-star. But again, this is the first time in the playoffs for a lot of these Pistons, and I think the Knicks can take advantage of having the experience. But Pistons are playing, well, I guess to end the season, quote-unquote. They just beat us. Knicks are kind of floundering, haven't found their identity late in the season. So you don't really want to go into the playoffs floundering like the New York Knicks have been. It doesn't make you feel good, Chris, and I think that's how you feel.
That's pretty much exactly how I feel. It like you just summed it up right there. It doesn't make you feel good, right? We all know playoffs are a different animal altogether. Obviously, the game kind of slows down a bit. It's more of a chess match than games in the regular season are. But, I felt like that game we just had against Detroit recently, that was our chance to show send them a message, right? That was our chance to send them a message. You got Jalen Brunson on that court. You got Karl Anthony Towns out on that court. And the Pistons have Cade Cunningham. You're supposed to go out there and win that game. And not only did we lose that game, but we gave up a pretty sizable lead. So I just feel like, we gave the Pistons that extra boost of confidence now going into this series where they're like, hey, we took your 2 best guys and we were down 13 plus and we came back and we beat you. So that's kind of putting a sour taste in my mouth, put it that way.
Let's put all that behind us, Chris. It is a new day. It is Sunday, Palm Sunday. It's a new day. Look, it's a valid statement, Chris. I'm not going to argue with you. Tough game. Look, the Knicks were missing OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson in that game. And the Knicks this season have, Cat got hurt his thumb in one of the matchups versus the Pistons. Anunoby, I think, was out one of the matchups versus them. And usually regular season doesn't really correlate to the playoffs. I mean, we've heard that about 1,000 times, right? And Tom Thibodeau has already in my opinion, outcoached JB Bickerstaff a couple of years ago when he was with the Cavs. So we have that working for us. And yeah, Chris, where do you want to start with this thing? A lot of things where we can start with these things, but you want to run down the numbers? We got a lot of numbers for you guys. We got a lot of stats, a lot of nerdy stats, by the way, for you guys. Just talking about the series, the Pistons, Knicks side, how the Knicks can, overcome the Pistons' strong suits and vice versa. So we got a lot of stuff for you guys. The Mikal Bridges stats versus the Pistons, Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham. This is going to be a packed episode, guys. I don't think we'll get to trivia at the end because of how packed this episode is going to be. But where do you want to start, Chris? Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the guy for the Detroit Pistons. Let's start with Cade Cunningham because I want to know how are the Knicks going to stop Cade Cunningham?
It's a good question, Chris. Obviously, they'll try to put OG Anunoby on Cade and wear him out, but Cade Cunningham versus the New York Knicks, I mean, his numbers have just been incredible. He's shooting 48% from mid-range. And do you have the numbers? Do you have the stats right in front of you? You want to read them off? You have them?
I do not have them.
I think he's averaging like 32 points versus the Knicks in the playoffs. But either way, let me get those numbers for you guys. Unfortunately, they didn't upload, but here we go. Some great content right here. I know he's averaging 30 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds in 4 games versus the New York Knicks this season. Most recently, 36 points, 8 assists. That was a game like 3 years ago. And he had 36 in the Garden, 29, 10, and 15. He had a triple-double against us. The first matchup in November when we pretty much demolished them, he had 22, 6, and 6. So Cade is a monster, and it's going to take a team effort to guard this man. And look, it's going to start with OG Anunoby. He's going to be thrown at Cade, obviously, but Cade is so good. I mean, the Knicks have to he's so good at reading drop coverage, Chris, and the Knicks just cannot continue to play drop against him. I know he's like a 34% three-point shooter this year, but he just reads the defense so well and he's a great player. And the Knicks, it starts with him, whether you want the Knicks to throw blitzes at him, double team him at times, because he's the head honcho, right? He's the guy you want to take out of the game. But it's so difficult to do so. The Knicks have multiple guys that can throw at Cade as well. OG, Josh Hart. I mean, you can even try Deuce sometimes. Mikal, although I think Cade has, is stronger than Mikal and has more weight to him than Mikal. So the main defender is going to be OG Anunoby, but they do have multiple guys that can throw at Cade. It's going to be a team effort, Chris, guarding this man.
Yeah, it's going to be – I think that's going to be a difficult task. I mean, we saw it the last game, right? We saw a lot of Cade Cunningham. He would start on either OG or OG would start on him. Mikal would start on him, and they'll force that switch right onto whoever Jalen Brunson was on. And we saw them spamming that over and over and over again, which is smart. It was what they should do, right? Go after the weakest defender. And Cade Cunningham just continued to get down into the post and just made the Knicks pay over and over, especially late in that game where they took the lead and basically won their game basically off of Cade Cunningham going ISO on Jalen Brunson. Yeah. So I feel like Detroit kind of played their hand a little bit there because obviously they're going to have a few more wrinkles, but I think that's going to be the game plan. I'm just kind of curious how Tom Thibodeau is going to, make the adjustment. How is he going to protect Jalen Brunson, on the defensive end from those type of switches? It's I think that's going to be a big part of it, obviously.
Yeah, because we saw last game, Cade was eating Brunson alive. And I know Brunson can do a lot of things like draw offensive fouls and whatnot, but they're going to attack that. Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns pick and roll, they're going to try to get switches with him. But it's going to be a team effort guarding Cade. Like we just stated, he's averaging over 30 points against this Knicks team this year, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. So in each of the last 3 matchups, the Knicks have had trouble guarding this man. And OG Anunoby will make a difference, and he will try to make it as difficult as possible for Cade, but the Pistons are going to try everything in their power to get Cade off of OG, to get OG off of Cade Cunningham. And look, mid-range is where he kills you. Obviously, he's such a good court. He reads the court so well, Chris. 5'2" player. I mean, we even had somebody on ESPN say he's the best player. He's going to be the best player in this series. He's a great player, Chris. But we have Mr. Number 11, Jalen Brunson. Brunson
Yeah.
has averaged 28.3 points, 7.8 assists, and 2.8 rebounds in 4 games against the Detroit Pistons this season. So, as much as we're talking about Cade Cunningham, the Detroit Pistons don't really have anyone to guard Jalen Brunson. They can throw Tobias Harris at him. I mean, Cade Cunningham can try to stop him, but Brunson would just, he's played well against this team, and I think that's the main factor. Brunson's going to get his points. He's going to cook. He's going to play well. So it's going to be the battle of the point guards. But the Knicks just have too much talent, in my opinion, for the Detroit Pistons to overcome. And as I say that, I know Pistons fans, if you're watching or if you're rewatching this, just like, we beat you 3 out of 4 times. So what are you talking about? It's all valid points, which is why Chris has the nervousness coming out of his voice that he's nervous about this series. But Brunson has been awesome, and we saw Cat was awesome offensively against this team early on, but those turnovers, you got to clean that up. Yeah. But look, battle of the point guards in this series. It's going to be Cade versus Brunson. That's going to be all over their social media, and obviously those are the 2 best players on either team. But yeah, I think Brunson will get to his spots, Chris. I think he will perform extremely well, and we've seen playoff Brunson perform at a high level, and I'm just expecting more of that this coming playoffs for JB.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson to me is not an issue. Obviously we know what he can bring. We know what he can do, and I'm fully confident he's going to go out there and do it. Again, what makes me a little bit nervous is, again, what just transpired in the last game versus Detroit. You got a young squad that's hungry. It's kind of like they have nothing to lose in this scenario. Nobody expecting them to be where they're at. And they could just go out there and play tough. And it's going to be a physical series. We already saw a little glimpse of that. My main concern is really the supporting cast. Cat played well, last game. But like you mentioned, lots of turnovers, lots of sloppy play, which kind of like dampened that game that he had. And everybody else, like who else is going to step up? Is Mikal going to step up? Is he going to have a good series? Those are the types of questions where, the way the season has gone and the way the season has gone to close this regular season, you just really don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you don't, and that's I guess that's the fun of it, but that gives you nerves, but I guess be excited too. Got a poll in the YouTube chat. Make your predictions. Knicks in 4, Knicks in 5, Knicks in 6 plus, or the Pistons will win this series. So far, 16 votes. Would appreciate you guys voting on the poll. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Smash the like button, thumbs up, all the good stuff. Subscribe to the channel. Most of you are, but if you're not, please do so. Getting ready to release a lot of content for you guys this coming week. Tony says OG will be the difference in this series. They have no one to guard him. They don't. If the Pistons throw Tobias Harris on Cade, on Jalen Brunson, right? They're going to try to throw Cade on Brunson, Asor Thompson on Brunson. They don't have anyone to guard OG Anunoby, Chris. And that's been a talking point amongst Knicks fans, is when Jalen Brunson has been in this lineup, this Knicks team has struggled to find the balance in getting OG Anunoby the basketball. OG Anunoby was amazing. Him and Mikal were amazing when Brunson was out. But if this Knicks team is clicking on all cylinders, Chris, this could be an easy series for this Knicks team, but we just haven't seen that yet. So I'm not calling this an easy series at all.
Yeah.
But Pistons got a lot of guys that play hard, but yes, they really don't have anyone to guard OG Anunoby, right? And you can say Tobias, you can say, Asor Thompson. Ron Holland, who's really good for them. They got guys, but if OG's in a groove like he has been, Chris, that's what makes this Knicks team so dangerous, right?
Yeah.
It's all about balance with this team.
Yeah. That's literally all it is, really. It's just, how do you get everybody clicking, right?
Yeah.
And OG Anunoby, we've been seeing it. Like you mentioned, when Jalen Brunson was out, OG looked offensively like a different – he became an animal out there. And that's the OG Anunoby we're going to need this playoff series. And I feel like that will open up the floodgates for everybody else, including Jalen Brunson. Because we're going to see all the doubles going towards Jalen Brunson. We're going to see those high – as soon as he crosses basically midcourt, he's going to see those double teams. We saw it a little bit late in the last game as well. But OG Anunoby, look, there really is nobody that can guard him. And you could kind of say something similar as far as Cat, but that all depends on the demeanor that you're going to get from Cat. You know, because the Pistons don't really have many big guys, 7-footers, right? So you could kind of say the same thing about Cat, but it all depends if Cat's going to play that bully ball down low in the post or not.
Pistons could throw Duran on Cat. The key to that is to get him in foul trouble. He leads that team in fouls per game. One thing that to note, last game they put Stewart on Cat and it really bothered Cat. So I'm wondering if they were to switch up their lineup and start a Stewart over Duran. But Duran is a great rebounder. The Pistons are a great rebounding team. And they're a great fast break team. So the Knicks have to clean up these, clean up the turnovers. And all season long, the Knicks have been a low in terms of team turnovers per game. But Cat, I thought in the beginning of the game, last game, he was dominating. I mean, he was all over Duran. And then the Pistons made the switch. And, he has to clean up the turnovers. You cannot get into foul trouble. But, yes, I mean, on the Knicks side, they're going to probably throw Duran on Josh Hart, as we've been seeing. The center has been guarding Josh Hart. And they're probably going to use him as a roamer to defend Hart. But Knicks can kind of, take that away by using Josh Hart as a screener more. So, more picks involving Josh Hart because we know he's going to start. And we know he's going to play a lot. And what we have seen is teams sag off of him. But, Knicks can kind of do the same with them in terms of like Tobias Harris. He's an okay three-point shooter. I think he's shooting like 34% from three, if I'm not mistaken, this year. They can kind of do the same with Osor Thompson. He's a bad three-point shooter. He's more of like a gadget guy, sort of like their Josh Hart, just does everything out there. Yeah. So the Knicks can come back then and do the same thing. So it's literally going to be a chess match. Going to be fascinating to watch. I do not take what happened in the regular season. Like I don't. You take some film from that, Chris, but you don't really want to, think too much of those outcomes because the playoffs are such a different animal. So, yeah, I mean, playoffs are different, man.
I agree. I guess it's just the optics of it all, and obviously some other tough losses pile on top of that. So yeah, look, playoffs is a whole nother animal, obviously, and those are some good points, man. It's going to be a chess match for sure.
Jay Beard says Pistons are soft as Scott tissue. Tony says start Mitch and bench Hart for this series. Daniel, what's going on in the chat? Appreciate you. Jay Beard says let's go Knicks. Pacers said Cade is going to foul out of these games. 2, can't guard the ball handlers and hacks. Knicks 100 GM says Shamet coming off the hip with it, ain't he? All net. Landry Shamet playing really well. Yeah, we'll talk about some X factors as well. All right, so we went through the Jalen Brunson and Cade Cunningham stats. They are right here on your screen against the Detroit Pistons and Cade against the New York Knicks. So here we go. Malik Beasley on the Pistons side, Chris, he shoots 52% from corner three. Can't be left open. He can't be left open. He is a sniper. You kind of have to, he's their best three-point shooter. You kind of have to watch him. He got hot in MSG 2 games ago when the Pistons came into MSG, obviously dancing and whatnot, but he can get hot at any given moment. So, three-point shooting. Now we get into the stats. Detroit, middle of the pack, ranked 17th. Knicks ranked 10th at 36.9%. Rebounding. Detroit is 7th in the NBA with 53 rebounds per game. Duran, Cade, Stewart, Tobias, Ashore, they all are great rebounders. They rebound the basketball. So that's one thing you got to watch. Knicks are 23rd in the NBA in rebounds per game with 50 per game. Detroit, weakness, bottom 10 in free throw percentage, bottom 10 in turnovers per game at 14.9. So Detroit loves to turn the ball over. Knicks have to run. So, you want me to keep going or you want to say something?
Keep going.
All right. It's a lot here. 3-point attempts. This, I think, favors the New York Knicks. One thing of note, Chris, this season is the New York Knicks have attempted way less threes this season than last season. And a lot of media, Knicks fans were, obviously we lose Randall, we lose Dante, and that's a huge part of that. Knicks have to get back to shooting threes, but Detroit Pistons, 35 per game. The New York Knicks at 34 per game. So both teams don't attempt that many threes. Love the mid-range, slower pace. I think this bodes well for New York's defensive schemes because what have we seen all season? Knicks struggle to defend the three. But if the Pistons are left open, you have to guard them because they have multiple guys who can shoot. But they only, in my opinion, like Cade can get hot. Tobias, I guess if you want to put a roamer on him, he's shooting 34% from three this year. Then you have Tim Hardaway, 36%. He's their second best three-point shooter. Beasley's at 41%. Those are the guys you got to watch. Shore Thompson, Chris, shooting 22% from three. Doesn't shoot threes. So,
yeah. I think that bodes well for the Knicks. It's just like you mentioned, you got to prevent Malik Beasley from getting hot, and you also got to do that with Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. We've seen it.
Yeah.
He's a guy where it just takes one basket, and next thing you know, he's just on fire and can't miss. You got to keep those guys from going off, basically. But those stats that you just mentioned right there, especially the three-point attempts, because we've seen this throughout the entire regular season. For some reason, teams just go lights out from three against us. And hopefully this Detroit team doesn't do something similar. But, according to the stats, it's a plus for us.
Numbers don't lie. Once again, appreciate you guys in the chat. We're just going through the stats right now, running through the important stuff where I think, the Knicks can, obviously take this and talk amongst them, the coaching staff and the players and ingrain this in their brain. Paint defense, Chris. That's one area where the New York Knicks struggled with against the Pistons the last game. And they have multiple guys shooting high percentage in the paint. Multiple guys. Cade, they have Tobias Harris, Duran, obviously Stewart, Thompson. All these guys can shoot really well in the paint. That's what they want to do as well. They want to get in the paint. So I think Mitchell Robinson is going to be a big factor in this series. That's why a lot of Knicks fans want them to go to the Mitch starting lineup with Karl-Anthony Towns. So Pistons, they perform well in the paint. They have a high percentage in the paint. Last game, they targeted Karl-Anthony Towns early, pick and roll stuff, and they were getting anything they wanted in the paint. And quite frankly, that's been the Knicks' bugaboo, if you want to say. That's an area that concerns me. I think you're going to see a lot of Mitch. I think he's ready. And I think that's going to be extremely important, the paint defense for this Knicks team. You got to hunker down. It's all hands on deck. And, yeah, Pistons, high percentage in the paint. And they're going to target Cat.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to target Cat. We saw that in the last game. That's another reason. That's another reason why I have some pause, It's just with Cat, it's a little frustration, Look, obviously I know what he can do for us offensively, take nothing away from Cat in that regard. But on the defensive end, man, it just looks bad, man. He doesn't get his hands up. He's getting out of the way of smaller guys, like, knock somebody down, contest a shot. If you're going to get the foul call, make it worth your while, Yeah. When it comes to the playoffs, I'm hoping that's the intensity he brings. Start contesting some of these shots. Put your hands up. You're a 7-footer. Your hands shouldn't be down by your waist. When somebody's elevating in the paint, try to contest it. See what happens. He has the potential, man. He definitely has the potential to at least alter a shot if you're a 7-footer. Some of my frustrations with Cat is that kind of. Lazy he makes those business decisions. He's just like, hey, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna move out of the way. And to me, I don't like that, But again, I know it's not his calling card. He's not some defensive dynamo. He's not Mitch, right? Mm-hmm. He's not Mitch. But I just feel like there should be more there for Cat, especially come playoff time. So they're definitely gonna, target him. But I think this would be the perfect time where you see a lot more Mitch and Cat minutes, right? Because so far we've seen those minutes, and usually they've been pretty good together.
They have been, and it's been a fucking last 2 weeks since everyone's been out in and out the lineup. But yes, Cat has to. Yeah, expectations, Chris. What's reality, and what are you expecting with him defensively? Because look, we know he's a poor defender. That's been all season long. He got to stop the drop coverage, especially with Cade. that's Cade will eat you alive. He's going to eat you alive. And, it's going to be a talking point, and we're talking about it now. But, Cat has to, like you said, I think we're going to see a lot of Mitch and Cat out there. But if that's the case, somebody said in the chat, let me go back. Somebody said, why should we see Cat and Mitchell Robinson? Because, they haven't played together as much lately. Nick Yak says, Mitch don't need to start to play with Cat. Why now? Doesn't make sense. They're not going to do that, Nick Yak, but during the games, you will probably see more of that. We're just saying that because the Pistons, their bread and butter is paint points. And this season, there's been a couple of games versus the Knicks where they've gotten hot. Last game, they outscored us in the paint by a lot. And granted, no Mitchell Robinson, so, take that for what you will. But, just finishing up these stats. So fast break, Detroit is second in the NBA in fast break points per game at 18.7 per game. So the Knicks must take care of the basketball, and they have all season long. They're really, disciplined team in terms of turnovers. But if they turn the ball over a lot, Detroit loves to run, and the numbers prove it. Second in the NBA in fast break points per game. So they love to run. They love to score in the paint. They do have the shooters to get hot from three, right? But they don't take a lot of threes. Cade is kind of like that operator that does everything. Hardaway, they have Tobias can shoot a little bit, but I'm not. Look, in terms of the Pistons, they're going to throw everything at Brunson. Everything. Yeah. And Brunson has already cooked Tobias Harris. Like, we've seen that. And I'm not afraid of that. So I think Brunson's going to get his points. Like, he's going to be awesome. He's going to be amazing. It's the assist that you need to watch. You need to watch this Knicks team move the basketball because that's when they're at their best. And like I said, Cade may try guarding Brunson, but the Knicks may try to, throw multiple picks at him. And look, it's going to be a chess match. I think the Knicks have the upper hand because they're the more superior team than the Pistons. The record hasn't shown that against the Pistons this year. But I do think when it's all said and done, this Knicks team will come together as a unit and perform well against them. That's what I think. And look, they need to. They should. And I think they will. Again, got the poll in the chat, Chris. So far we have, let me refresh this. Appreciate you guys in the chat once again, hopping with us on this Sunday evening. We do this every single Sunday. Chris is back on the stream. Smash the thumbs up button, subscribe. Appreciate the support. Thank you for giving us your time once again. We're just going over everything you need to know about Knicks Pistons. I'm still trying to see if the schedule is going to come out during the stream. So if you guys see the schedule to come out, they can start Saturday or Sunday. Just let me know during the stream. But in terms of, what was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, Chris, they don't have anyone to guard JB. They don't.
I think I think ultimately when it comes down to this series, I think, look, the Knicks have the experience, right? Detroit, this is their first go around. A lot of these players, this is their first go around when it comes to postseason, getting to the postseason, and even experiencing postseason success. So I think the Knicks have obviously the advantage there, and like you mentioned, when it comes to coaching, I think the Knicks also have the advantage when it comes to Tom Thibodeau. I know a lot of Knicks fans don't want to hear that right now. Obviously, a lot of chatter with all types of coaches getting fired and planned to be fired and things of that nature. But let's not forget, Tom Thibodeau soundly outcoached, JB Bickerstaff.
And they were also shook, the Cavs. So,
yeah, I mean, that was a great time. That was a dismantling of that team and the coach in all facets of the game. But,
But like you said, some of that stuff doesn't really correlate.
Right.
Some of that stuff doesn't. Right. Do you think Dibs will go? Sorry to cut you off, but
go ahead.
Do you think he'll go 8 or 9? I mean, Shamit's been playing awesome. So, I mean, this is a series where I've said my piece about PJ Tucker. I think you need him out there for 5 minutes just to like rough someone up a little bit. I think it's gonna be one of those series, Chris. And I personally think, look, Payne has been. I know he had a good game against the Nets, but I mean, I don't really care about that. But look, rotations are going to be a talking point.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. That's for sure. Will he go 8? Will he go 9? I don't know. But I think I have a better personally, at least I feel better because now the Knicks, Tom Thibodeau and the coaching staff got to look at guys like DeLon Wright. You got to look at PJ Tucker versus Detroit, right? So if you need that toughness, if you need an enforcer to go out there, you have that, right? Landry Shamet is coming on at the right time, hitting his shots, being aggressive, campaign. Love him or hate him, he's on or he's off, right?
Yeah.
But you know what you're getting with campaign. I think it's a good thing that we were able to see some of these guys play and play well. Because I think that gives, in the back of Tiv's mind, he can be like, hey, maybe I could throw DeLon right out here in this moment. Maybe I can bring a PJ Tucker in here, So I think it's good. Whether he actually does it's another, that's another thing. But, it's definitely an option. It's more of a reality now than it was, say, 2-3 weeks ago. That's for sure.
Nick Yak says, bro, if we see PJ in the playoffs, we are in trouble. I don't necessarily believe that. Appreciate the comments, though. Mets Knicks fan, let's go, says our 2 best players is our worst 2 defensive players. We beat Detroit, but can't see us winning a chip. Yeah, let's focus on Detroit, obviously. Appreciate the comment, though. Muhammad says, the dog OG Anunoby is waiting on that boy Cade. Look, we'll put the stats up prior. Cade Cunningham against the New York Knicks, 30 points, 8 assists, 5 boards in 4 games against this Knicks team. The point guards would you say look, I think we don't know how Cade's going to perform in the playoffs, but I would expect a great player is going to obviously have his moments, and he's going to have his, Cade moment, and I just hope he doesn't have his MSG moment. But, I can't wait. Look, Cade is going to obviously perform really well for the Pistons, and Brunson is as well. But on the bottom screen, Chris, we haven't talked about Mr. Mikal Bridges, averages 19.8 points, 3.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists in 4 games against the Pistons this season. Like we just stated, Knicks have a multitude of guys, and they just have to – it's all about balance with this team. So what are you expecting for Mikal in this series? Because lately him and OG Anunoby have been playing well. Brunson is back now, but Mikal has – if you were to grade his season, Chris, I guess you would have graded – I would give it a B minus. I would give it a B minus. Nothing crazy. Yeah. He's a third option. Like, what more do you want to expect? Obviously, he's had his bad games. He had his great months.
Yeah.
But when we take a look at the nitty gritty, I mean, Mikal, what do you say?
I mean, look, if I had to grade his season, first season as a Knick, B minus. B minus is fair. I agree with you on that. Obviously, sky high expectations when you factor in everything that was given up for him and what played out. Kind of a roller coaster for Mikal, but I do think in the playoffs, Mikal will be a huge factor.
Yeah.
Huge. Because we saw it when Jalen Brunson went down. Mikal handling the ball more. That little pull-up midi he loves to take, that thing is lethal.
His assists have been up too.
And his playmaking ability was, he was showing a little bit of that as well. And if we get that Mikal alongside Cat, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, that only bodes that's just fantastic for us. Yeah. In my opinion, when Mikal looks like that, that's when we're going on all cylinders there. And that's the Mikal Bridges we're going to need, in my opinion. He's shown that he can do it.
Yeah, Mikal this season, his offensive numbers have been awesome. 57.7% efficiency, field goal percentage, shooting 76% at the rim, mid-range 51% at the rim. Mid-range, excuse me. Corner 3, 43%. Struggles with non-corner threes at 31%. But yeah, this is his first playoff go-around with the New York Knicks. And the Knicks fans are going to be watching Mikal because
under a microscope.
He's under a microscope. And, it's I think in this series he can perform well, though. I do. I really do. But he's under a microscope. But we say that with the confidence that we think Mikal's going to have a good series. We have somebody said Mikal's going to be in the X factor in this series. Who said that in the chat?
Nostalgic Nick.
Nostalgic says Mikal will be the X factor. Yeah, it very well could be. And I think game by game basis, Chris, I think you're going to have just consistently like X factor. Like I guess if you were to ask me who the Knicks X factor in this series was, like I would say it's Cat in this series, simply due to the fact that interior defense, need him to stay out of foul trouble, and I want to see how Cat acts in this series versus Stewart. That's going to be a heck of a matchup versus Durant. Like, if they really, like, Stewart, I know is going to be physical with Cat, but if you were to pick one player, in my opinion, I would say it would be Cat, because Cat last game, stats were great except the turnovers. You don't want that, but I need to see no complaining. I don't need him to scream at the refs. Like, I don't need to see any of that. It's the playoffs. They're really not going to call anything. They haven't been calling anything on you all year. But I think, I think it'll be Cat, and I truly do think that, you know, he's going to have a big series. I hope. We need him to.
Yeah, we need him to. We need him to. You know, look, I mean, if it wasn't for a few of those turnovers, maybe that Detroit game goes. I mean, I'm fairly confident the Detroit game plays out differently.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, look, Cat needs to bring it. He needs to bring it. He can't, you know, something I did notice late in that Detroit game, once they put Isaiah Stewart on Cat, all of a sudden the Knicks were not trying to get into the paint. Cat was not trying to attack and go into the paint. Everything was just perimeter. We became stagnant. It just looked bad. It's like, I don't know, the Knicks just forgot how to drive into the paint almost. So that was a concern, and you just kind of hope, like, Cat, look, I get it. Isaiah Stewart, he's a beast, but let's not forget he's also hobbled. He's having knee issues. You know, you got to go at that guy. You know, see what happens. Be physical. Back him down.
He's one of their best defenders. He is,
but he is banged up.
Which is why I'm interested to see if JB Bickerstaff makes this switch, but I don't think he will, because I think Cat, you know, and Durant, I think that matchup bodes well for Cat, and we saw that. Yeah. But I don't think he'll make the switch to Stewart. But yeah, Cat's 3-point attempts have been down too. You know, and you know the Knicks have a whole 3-point attempts have been down. But like Wayne says in the chat, I agree. This is a staple game/series for Karl-Anthony Towns. Yeah. David says Stewart fouled out against Cat. David, he's going to use all of his fouls against Cat. He fouled out, but he was making it so difficult for Cat, and he was playing such great defense on Karl-Anthony Towns. And that's another thing. You can get these guys in foul trouble, and it starts with Durant, right? It starts with Durant. I think Cat can eat that matchup alive. And to start the game, Chris, during the last game, like, I was like, okay, this is a very positive sign. Like, Knicks were going to Cat, and he was just awesome. And Brunson looked locked in, and then obviously third quarter of dooms, which we got to watch out for. You don't really know what's going on with the Knicks. They keep blowing these big leads, and you're sitting there like, bro, what is going on? Again, that goes back to the identity. Like, right now, this Knicks team has struggled to find their identity, and that's why it gives a lot of Knicks fans some trepidation going into this series versus the Detroit Pistons. But, you know, especially Chris, who is kind of nervous, but, you know, I'm fairly confident, man. We laid out the numbers. I'm fairly confident. I think this Knicks team can get it done fairly, not 4, but I don't want it to go 6 or 7. I don't. I don't.
Well, you know me, man. I like to give. I respect teams that made it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't like to overlook anybody. Do I believe the Knicks squad has the talent? Yeah. I mean, that's part of my big issue with, you know, having Cat and Brunson on the court. No matter who you're sitting, they should have won that game against Detroit. Find a way to win it, you know?
Yeah.
Talent-wise, but I get it. You know, things don't always play out that way.
I wouldn't say it's the way they looked, right? It's like they laid down in the second half, and it kind of
just sloppy turnover.
They were sending a message like, we're coming, and we're not afraid of you. And the Knicks kind of they laid down. And that's a concern. So we got the poll in the YouTube chat. Make your predictions. Knicks in 4, Knicks in 5, Knicks in 6, plus Pistons win the series. So far, we got Knicks in 5 winning the poll with 52%. Would appreciate you guys voting on the poll. Also got the Knicks playoff chat. The Discord link is pinned up to the chat. Hop in there. Chris and I are in there. We're going to be talking, Knicks throughout the week. And obviously you guys can call in with the post-game shows and whatnot. El Figgy, what's going on, El Figgy? The Pistons are going to take a page out of the Philadelphia 76ers book from last year. They're going to try to shut JB down. That means OG and Mikal have to step up. Yeah, obviously, Chris, our wings, right?
Yeah.
They have Arsor Thompson. They have Tobias Harris. They have, Sasser, Holland. But, like, Dennis Schroeder's on the, like, none. I think, obviously, they got Hardaway, Beasley. Our wings. Obviously, a lot of Knicks fans are worried about our wings performing against the Celtics. But what do you say against this Pistons team? I mean, I guess we talked about it a little bit, but so if they take away Brunson, if they, some miraculous reason, they take away Jalen Brunson and he's averaging 15 points a game and he's struggling from the field and they're double teaming him and getting the ball out of his hands every single time down the court, which I don't think is going to happen. But time after time again, we've seen teams, like they're going to throw Arsor Thompson on him too. We've seen teams.
Yeah.
Full court press for Jalen Brunson. And we've seen that in pretty much back-to-back years in the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, look, if the bottom line is, Chris, if Mikal and OG struggle, it's gonna be a tough hill to climb. I mean, we need those guys to show up, and I think the Pistons don't really have anyone to guard. Obviously, we talked about OG, but Omar says in the chat, Wingstop needs to show up. I think they will. I do. In this series, I do.
Yeah. I think it starts with OG, honestly.
Yeah.
I think OG is going to get plenty of opportunities to do what he's been doing, right? And then Mikal. Mikal is going to be one of those X factors where, if they're doubling Jalen Brunson, obviously full court pressing him, whatever it is, it's going to be most likely Mikal and Josh Hart who is going to be bringing up the ball, right? I kind of like Mikal just because he's more of a threat, in my opinion, especially around the perimeter. Let him have the ball. Let him play, make a little bit, get, deep into the post, hit that fadeaway midi. I think that opens up the floor for the Knicks in general. So, I think they're going to have every opportunity, but I think OG is going to be number one. Mikal will come number two. But it's going to be a big series for both of them. Let's be honest, because they are going to try to shut down Jalen Brunson. That's going to be the number one thing.
They try, Chris. They'll try. Many teams have tried before, and many teams have failed. I mean, his playoff numbers are absurd, Chris. I mean, the 76ers series is absurd. They tried everything. They tried everything, literally, and they failed. That gives me confidence. Like that's why I'm like, I know we're struggling right now. I know we're not going into the playoffs with any sense of like mojo, because like we said earlier, you want to really go into the playoffs feeling good. And it's kind of been like, look, we won 51 games, but it's kind of been like this roller coaster weird season. And a lot of Knicks fans right now are like, they see the writing on the wall. And while I agree with them, anything is possible in the playoffs. That's all I'm going to say. But I want to enjoy this. But yes, JB, they're going to try, and they're going to fail. That's the bottom line. I mean, playoff JB is different, That's what we know. Like, as long as we got number 11, playoff JB is different. Nobody can guard him.
Yeah.
Especially in the playoffs. But hero ball, right? It's been a talking point in the season. Especially now with Mikal and OG, a lot of Knicks fans don't want him to play this hero ball. And his assist numbers are up this year, but it's such like a tricky conversation to have, Chris, because he's so good and so talented that you want the ball in your best player's hands. And, but we saw what OG can do without him. And that's why a lot of Knicks fans are like, yo, this is one basketball, man. It's one basketball. But yes, Chris, the hero ball. What do you? I mean,
well, I've said it many times. I don't like the hero ball thing, but then it's hard for me to say that in the same breath when you have one of the best closers in the game at the moment. Jalen Brunson, he's up there. He's top when it comes to clutch baskets at the end of these games, whether it's fourth quarter or overtime, That's the guy you want to have the ball. So like, I get it. But then like you mentioned, you got guys like Mikal, you got guys like OG, you got Cat. I hate to see those guys just parked in a corner, Cat parked in a corner, not being utilized. Just I feel like it makes it too easy for the defense to key in. All they got to do is wait till Brunson attacks, throw a second guy, hope for, JB, let's be real. JB's undersized PG. If they throw two lengthy guys at JB, that's a hard pass for him to make off a double team like that. And that's what they're banking on when guys are just spread out around the court. And we've seen that many times where it ends up being a turnover. It ends up, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm torn between the two. I really don't know which way to go.
Look, Mike said in the chat, Jalen Brunson literally set playoff records last season that only Jordan has. And somebody else said, David says his assist numbers are only up 0.5 from last year. Not good enough considering we have Cat and Bridges this year. Agree. All valid. Look, David, agree with you. And when this Knicks team is at their best, the ball is moving and grooving, and their offense is flowing, and everyone's touching the basketball, and they're hitting their threes, and they're especially their corner threes. And we've seen games where they've kind of taken these lulls and just missing everything. But yes, that leads me to Mr. Hart. This offense in the beginning of the season was clicking, right? I mean, you had JB, Cat, pick and rolls, which I would like to see more, but we're really taking a step back in that because teams throw centers at Josh Hart.
Yeah.
And he's a poor three-point shooter, but he does a lot on the court really well. He's had playoff moments. He's going to play a lot. But what do you say to, if he's open, you want him to shoot it, but then you want him to, I don't want to see games with Josh Hart 18 shot attempts, OG and Obi 10 shot attempts. I don't want that. Right. So
yeah. I guess it's a fine line, right? It's a fine line when it comes to Josh. I mean, look, ultimately what I want is if you got a wide open shot, don't hesitate, you take it. Look, he's like you mentioned, he's had many big shots for us, especially in the playoffs, late in these games where, let's be real, they wanted the ball to go to him. And he's made these tough shots. He can make them. He can definitely make them. Is he your first option that you would like to take those shots? Probably not. But like we've heard Tom Thibodeau say many times, the best shot is the open shot, right? So if you get the open shot, you get the pass, take it. If you have to take a dribble because these guys are just, let's say they put Duren on Josh Hart. He's not going to be anywhere near the perimeter. He's probably going to be around the free throw area or whatever it is. Josh Hart, you want to take one step up and take a midi? Do that. Just be decisive with what you're going to do. Because where I have a problem is when Josh Hart gets the ball, looks left, looks right, fake pass, and either throws up a Hail Mary because by that time the clock is, running low. Or, something wild happens. But, yeah, that's what I want to see from Josh.
Yeah, well said. Wayne says it the best. Josh is best on the turnover breaks, and the Pistons are a turnover team. So, there is a world where I think Josh Hart can have a good series for this next team. I do, right? Pistons turn the ball over a lot. Josh, obviously, that's his strong suit, running and getting things involved and then playing that point. But I think in order to kind of hide him offensively, you can throw him with picks and use him with multiple picks with Brunson and OG and set him as a screener and really hide him. And the Knicks have been doing that more and more. But yes, I love that comment. Look, there is a world. I know Hart has been, bench Josh Hart. I want to see Deuce in there. I want to see Deuce in there. Hart is better off the bench. What do you say to that?
I don't believe that though.
Yeah.
I just feel like Josh does so much for this team. Rebounding, hustle plays, the gritty stuff,
Loose balls.
The havoc. He just wrecks havoc. He's able to go coast to coast. He's able to attack the paint, finish strong, get these and ones.
Yeah.
I mean, he does a lot for this team, and it sucks that he at times he becomes a little bit undecisive, and he won't take the shots that are there for him to take, because in his mind he's like, let me get the ball to somebody who shoots better than me, and that's understandable. But
Yeah.
we know what he can do. We also know what he can do. He's he has a really good mid-range jump shot, and he's in I guess average 3-point shooter, if you want to say, close to average.
No, below average.
Slightly below average.
Yeah.
But he's shown that he can hit those shots, when he's in rhythm. Usually if he hits one, he'll probably hit his next 2 or 3.
The thing about Josh is,
like that.
the thing about Josh is him, Tobias Harris have like the same 3-point percentage. So Hart this year, 14 points, 9, almost 10 rebounds a game, and 4 assists in 3 games against the Pistons. Like we said prior, Pistons rebound the heck out of the basketball. So take the scoring out of it. I know, the offense kind of, with Josh Hart, I know they kind of, don't guard him, but take the offense out of it. He is going to be important for those rebounds. And Pistons are a great rebounding team, and you need Hart out there to rebound the basketball for the New York Knicks. So he will do all that stuff. We don't need Hart to score. He will score, obviously. He has scored. Obviously, he's 14 points against his team. But, last game he was 1 of 2 from 3, 1 of 4, 1 of 3. Look, there's going to be games where you're going to look at the box score and you're going to see Josh Hart 15, 16, 17 shot attempts. You're going to ask yourself, why did he take more shots than OG Anunoby, or why did he take more shots than Mikal?
Yeah.
Obviously, every game is different. It depends on the flow and whatnot. But yes, if he's open, the right play is to shoot it, right? I mean, he's not a terrible 3-point shooter, and like we've seen in the years past, he could hit some clutch threes. I mean, I'll go back to the Philly series where he hit pretty much the game series sealer.
Yeah.
So and the Cavs series, game 1, where he hit a clutch 3. So he does have that in his repertoire. So the rebounding, Chris, I think is going to be important for Hart. The rebounding. Whoa.
This happens really all dramatic the time. There. No, yeah. And just to circle back real quick on Josh Hart, look, it's not whether he's even making the threes or not. I just feel like if he takes those shots, the defense has to honor it, right? Yeah. Whether he hits it or he misses it. If he takes one, Jalen Duren has to step up a little bit. He's like, all right, this guy, he's shooting with confidence. He's just letting it rip. Let me, he's gonna hit one of those eventually. So they're gonna have to play up. And I think that's, again, nothing that I haven't said before, but I feel like that just needs to be done.
Appreciate every single one of you in the chat. We are talking Knicks Pistons. That starts next weekend. We're going through everything. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for the support. Once again, thank you for giving us your time on this Sunday evening. Chat is lit. I see all of you guys in here. We got the poll in the chat. Some good conversation we're having. We're talking through it all. I mean, what's the post? Are you guys excited? Are you guys nervous? Are you doubting this team simply due to the fact that they're not playing their brand of basketball? I mean, they're the Knicks brand of basketball lately. I'm trying to gauge. I'm like, from the outside, it looks like a lot of Knicks fans are nervous, but I've seen some confidence throughout the fan base. And why don't we ask you guys in the chat? So let us know. What's the temperature, man? I mean, look, Pistons good team, Chris, but God, I mean, when it's all said and done, this Knicks team should be able to beat the Detroit Pistons in a playoff series. Right?
I agree. But
but what?
But like you said, some Knicks fans out there are nervous, me included, with the way it's looked leading up to the end of this regular season. It's just the facts. It hasn't looked the way you'd like. It's not the momentum you wanted to build to end the season, right?
Yeah.
And you had Jalen Brunson say before the Nets game, we got to go out there, we got to get this win to get some kind of positive momentum. Honestly, I don't know what you took out of that Nets game, but it did nothing for me.
Yeah, I didn't think it did nothing.
But look, I guess a win is a win. It's better to see
Kevin
a green
McCullough, bright future. That's all I got to say. Kevin McCullough, bright future. I love him.
Yeah, but it's not what you want. It's not what you want. But it's not like I'm saying we don't have a chance, right? No, I think we have more than enough to beat Detroit. It's just more of the uncertainty of what are you going to get, because there's times where we look like top 3 team in the league, and then there's times where it's like, what happened? We're the Wizards or something like that.
What's going on, loud and clear? What's going on, Crime's Dad? See the members in here. Appreciate you guys once again for becoming a member. Loud and Clear says Pistons are restricting ticket sales to locals only. I saw that today, that They don't want Knicks fans to penetrate that building, but we will find our way in there. I'll tell you that. Tony says put me in the winners column. El Figgy says no nerves, we got this. Yuri, confident. Dis Rover says I'm with Chris. Nick Yak, when Brunson went out, we didn't score, so why take the ball away with Brunson? We had 30 assist game that I can remember. TA says one of the better showing this season from the changes we made. But I made my peace with this team. Go Knicks. Well said. I like that. Keith says Knicks in 6. Let's go, man. Let's get hype.
All right, we're fairly positive there.
Come on, man.
And I hate to say it, but it is year 1, right? It is year 1.
Stop.
It is year 1.
Stop.
No, I only say that to make the point of the continuity is still building. It's still building.
Yuri with the super chat. Appreciate you, Yuri. Always supporting. Day 1, Yuri says, yo, we are not the Wizards. Do you see our win column compared to theirs? Jesus Christ. Sorry, Hart. I used the Lord's name in vain. Shout out to Yuri in the chat with the super chat. DJ Air Healthy, Yuri.
Appreciate you, Yuri. No, that was a little bit extreme. I will agree with you. But it's true. Sometimes, we look amazing, and then other times we don't look so good. That's part of my, my nervousness.
Isaiah, what's going on? Going back to your year 1 thing, Chris, I wouldn't say that's kind of falling on deaf ears for me, because I've heard that so much and I've actually said it myself. But yes, it's year 1, but this is the same front office that, made major changes.
Yeah.
And they thought that this team would get closer to the elites. And you've had Cleveland leapfrog you. You've gotten your ass kicked against the Boston Celtics 3 times. I know you've given them a run for the money last game, but you can't beat elite teams. You're 0-8. So year 1, great, 51 wins. I like it. You're beating up on these bad teams, but it's playoff times. You got to put your big boy pants on. And, I look, year 1, but year 1 really – I expected more in year 1, but it's not over.
Right, and I'm not
saying of the showings with first team.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of proves my point, though. I mean, I'm not using it as a as a cop out. That's not the way I'm trying to say it. I know that's what it leads to. Usually, when people say, "Oh, it's year 1," it's like a built-in excuse, right? Yeah. That's not really what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is a team like Cleveland, a team like Boston, they have that continuity. That cores for both those teams have been together for years. So they know how to play with each other at that point. To get Cat right before the season began, that's a big change. They probably went into the season thinking we're going to play this way, and then boom, you got Cat. So that's what I mean in the sense of the Knicks and the season they've had and the changes they've made, where it's like, look, we're 50+ wins, and it's year 1, pretty damn good. Obviously, Knicks fans want more, but, again, not to look ahead, but it's going to look better year 2, right? Or you'd hope it would look better year 2. But that's my point right there.
Crimes that said we can beat the Pistons. I'm confident in that one. This Rover says we were steadily number 1 and number 2 offense in the league before the new year. That's promptly dropped off the face of the earth, and we haven't recovered. Yeah, because teams have thrown centers at Josh Hart, and Yeah, I mean the Knicks have attempted less threes, and it's yeah, that's where we're trying to figure out like what happened, like what went wrong, and the main talking point has been Josh Hart. Loud and clear says Cade Cunningham, Dodge Ram, the Hoover Dam, Knicks in 6.
I like that. I like that.
Kenny says, let's stay confident. Dibbs is a man of preparation and planning. Our guys have the experience of playing 35-plus minutes per game consistently. Our squad is fully healthy. Kenny, I love positivity, positive Knicks fans, man.
I like that because that's actually the most confident thing I'm honestly looking forward to is Tom Thibodeau.
And we're healthy. We're healthy. We're healthy.
That too. Yeah, that too. Look, we were saying it before plenty times. Hey, if we get to the postseason and we're healthy, watch out, right? We're pretty damn healthy, right?
Hey, we said that before the season.
Look, Tom Thibodeau, again, I know there's massacres happening with coaching left and right in the NBA, people just getting fired, like really great coaches, which is ridiculous, but Tom Thibodeau, he's probably one of the best coaches you'd want in a postseason. You know he's going to be prepared. He's going to prepare you for all types of scenarios. I don't know. I think Tom Thibodeau is personally. I think he's here to stay.
The seat is a little bit warm here. It's a little
you
steamy.
You think it actually is a little warm? I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm wavering on that. But that's polarizing talking point.
So you're saying Mike Budenholzer is going to be the next, coach of the Knicks?
Mike Budenholzer? No. Heck no. Heck no.
There was a story floating around that he's obviously going to be fired as well.
Okay. I mean, look, guys. All I'm going to say, Chris, is if this Knicks team loses to the Detroit Pistons in the first round, I would fire Tom Thibodeau.
Ooh,
that is a failure.
I don't think I would.
I would seriously consider it. That is a look. I really didn't want to talk about this tonight, but we got here.
I mean, to be fair, I was trying to be positive. You gotta went dark on me there.
That's all I'm gonna say, Chris. If this Knicks team loses to this Pistons team in the first round, that is a major failure.
No matter how it looks.
If we go, like, if the guys go down, if OG, I don't know, like, yeah. But, like, if we're, like, depleted, but if we're fully healthy and we lose to the Pistons, who won, 10 games last season?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, I don't see it.
How can you not talk about it?
But I'll be honest, if that did happen, sorry to cut you off, but yeah, I would find it, I'd be surprised if he survived it.
Yeah. Pacer says, yeah, don't talk about it. All right. We said our piece. Knicks will be 2025 and 2026 NBA champs. Knicks in 5. Let's go.
Let's go,
man. I love it, man. Look, it's going to be a fun series. Obviously, still a lot to talk about, Chris. This was, obviously, the Pistons. So Pistons X factors. So I'm just going to go through it. I think their X factors, in my opinion, are Malik Beasley, who is a streaky shooter and can catch fire at any given moment. And I'm going to say Ron Highland. It's going to be like a sneaky X factor, but the last game versus the Knicks, he literally did everything out there. He was awesome for them. So Ron Highland, pure energy, does all the little things that impact winning for the Detroit Pistons. So those are my Pistons X factor. Obviously, look, Cade and you got Durant, you got Stewart and all them, and Hardaway can get hot. But look, man, Ron Highland, it's the name to watch.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good point because he killed the Knicks, especially on those hustle plays.
What about you? Who you think? If you were to pick any one of the Pistons, other than Cade, obviously.
Yeah, other than Cade, I'd say Stewart, to be honest, because he's like that. He's the toughness for them, right? As he goes, they kind of go when it comes to how tough they're going to be defensively. And obviously the matchup with Cat. I do think Stewart's going to be put back on Cat because they saw the effect that he had the past game.
Yeah.
And we got to see how Cat responds. Hopefully well. But I think that's their X factor right there. You know, obviously you can get under Isaiah Stewart's skin and kind of maybe throw him off a little bit if all he's seeing is red. But, you know, maybe the Knicks can use that to their advantage. But I think that's an X factor for Detroit right there where, you know, maybe if you can knock him out the game, they soften up a bit.
I like that because he got in foul trouble last game. And obviously he's one of those guys that versus the Knicks when they were in MSG, was it a couple months ago, where he was like pulling his jersey and saying Detroit Pistons, and I think he did that to Brunson. I think he did that right to Brunson's face. Brunson was walking past him, and Stewart said Pistons to Jalen Brunson. Nothing was done, by the way, but still, Knicks lost that game. So yeah, he's gonna try to punk the Knicks. He is, and Knicks kind of held him in check in terms of like his, you know, craziness last game. But that's a name to watch because he's gonna try to get under Cat's skin. I mean, you need some crazy on your team, and he's one of them. But I like PJ Tucker versus him, and I posted a video on the Knicks Nation socials on Instagram with Tucker and Stewart. Really, look, I don't know. I like Tucker on him, but I don't think we're going to see him. But, yeah, I like that Isaiah Stewart, sneaky. His defense on Cat, too.
Yeah.
You know?
That's all going to obviously factor in, but, you know. And it's funny, that last game where Stewart was, I think he had 5 fouls. I felt like the Knicks tried their best to attack him, and the refs just wouldn't give him that last one until late in their game. But, again, that's old news by now, so whatever. I'll drop it.
Yes. Tendrell says Stewart has 0 points and fouled out last time. Tendrell, I mean, 0 points, fouled out, but he was impactful.
Yes. Yep.
Right?
You said it perfectly. 0 points, fouled out, but his impact was huge. You know, Cat was having a hell of a game minus the turnovers. I think Cat had 25. And then once Isaiah Stewart got put on Cat, it was lights out. Like nothing else happened, at least from, you know, Cat. So, look, you don't have to score to make an impact, right?
Nope.
Don't.
You don't. All right. El Figgy says Josh Hart should come off the bench. He'd bring good energy and rebounds. Yeah, Chris, we talked about, you know, Pistons rebound the heck out of basketball. They're one of the league's best in terms of rebounding the ball, and I think the Knicks will need Hart's rebounding. And look, obviously adjustments will be made in game, but somebody else said in the chat earlier that I don't need Josh Hart to be playing 48 minutes. And, you know, I agree with that. But if he's impacting the game, Chris, then I don't disagree with his playing time. But, yes, there are some games where Tom Thibodeau, he'll fall in love with Josh Hart because he knows that he can trust him and he can do everything on the court and just make the right play. But beware, I think, you got guys that can, you got guys now that you can trust. I mean, like we said earlier, Landry Shamet has been playing really well for this team, and that's a huge addition. I mean, he's really starting to come along lately.
Yeah.
Campaign, you trust him, you don't.
Hit or miss.
But he'll shoot you out of a game and he'll shoot you back at a game. So, but Tom Thibodeau cannot be afraid to deviate from campaign, right? Because a lot of Knicks fans, if that happens, look, we've seen like Tucker, he hit a couple of threes today actually against the Nets. So he's not a corpse. He's actually providing out there. So whether we see him whether we see him, that's another story, Chris. I would build like 50% chance we see him.
That's pretty good.
Depends how the series is going, right?
Right. No, absolutely. I think if Tibbs feels, hey, we need some more toughness out there, I think we will see PJ Tucker, even if it's for like a minute or two. But, you know, that'll be interesting to see what plays out.
Sean says the playoffs ain't the regular season. Knicks in 5. Let's go. Love that confidence, man. I love the confidence, man. Knicks in 5, man. That's it. And then he also says you think Precious gets minutes. What do you say, Chris?
Yeah, Definitely.
Really?
I think he's definitely getting minutes. I mean, he had a strong showing against Detroit. Precious was one of the bright spots in that game. I mean, everybody saw the dunk on Stewart. Obviously, if Precious can be that effective against Detroit, I think you're going to see him out there. You think he doesn't get minutes?
Nah, I can't find them. Like, if you're going 4 off the bench, it depends game by game, right?
Yeah.
Tenjo says 3 to 5 minutes of Tucker per game, solely for the old man strength. I love that. Yeah, that's it, man. 3 to 5 minutes, man. Lay someone out, please. PJ Tucker at home in MSG. I need the crowd. I need the crowd behind Tucker. They've been chanting his name, man. We need some PJ Tucker in the playoffs. Then Sean says no more than 10 minutes for Cam, please. I don't see the playing time for Precious. Now, if Cat's in foul trouble and, Mitch is in, foul trouble, then yeah, because you don't have Haporti anymore, and I think Haporti would have been playing, honestly. But, yeah, I mean, Precious, the showing that he had versus the Pistons the last time was a positive one that, okay, dunking on Stewart, had that amazing dunk, played it well. They left him open for 3. He had a 3, which is like, wow, he hit Precious at a 3, but I don't find the minutes for Precious unless Cat's in foul trouble. That's where I can find the minutes. But I don't think he's.
I
he's
guess
been
I'm
so
kind of
inconsistent,
Yeah, exactly. That's the maddening part about obviously Precious' game, but I guess I'm kind of expecting Cat to get in some foul trouble because look, it's been a part of his game, unfortunately. So that's where I see the Precious minutes coming in. And then obviously the way he played against Detroit, where he was, I mean, he had a hell of a game. But, I think that bodes well for us seeing Precious at some point in the series, at least.
It does, man. It does. Appreciate you guys in here once again, rocking with us. Knicks, Pistons, playoffs are back. Playoffs in the city are back. Another year where the New York Knicks have an opportunity to win an NBA championship, Pistons are just another team in our way, and we just got to, come together as a unit, take them out, and just beat them. Do you want to give your predictions now, Chris, or you want to wait a little bit till the end of the week?
I could give my predictions now.
Go ahead. I'll wait. You give your prediction.
I say Knicks in 5. That's where I've been floating that around my head past couple of days because I do feel we have more than enough to handle Detroit.
That seems like the popular pick. Obviously, the poll's up to 89 votes. Knicks in 5 is winning that at 48%. That's the popular vote, and yeah. Pistons win series at 12%. Who's voting that? Pistons fans? Come on. I don't want to put that as an option, but 12% Pistons win series.
Hey, it could be some nervous Knicks fans,
All right, before we get up out of here, what do you say about the Knicks fans that I've been seeing that secretly want the New York Knicks to lose?
So that things change dramatically?
So that things change.
I don't like it, man. I feel like that's where, look, I'm not saying don't make changes if they're needed, right? But to make rash decisions just because, a playoff series didn't go well, you're talking about decisions that can alter the trajectory of this team, Don't lose sight. Obviously I know it's just the regular season, but 50 plus wins in a season, that's nothing to sneeze about, You make one wrong move, and then you're talking about 17 win seasons all over again and blowing up the team and possibly not having, draft capital to rebound. And we've been there. We've been there. We know what it looks like. So I think the Knicks got to be careful, obviously with the decisions they're going to make. Obviously the front office has been great for us. And we're a little spoiled. Let's be real. We're a little spoiled. We had a great season last year. We had a pretty damn good season, regardless of the roller coaster ride. This year, we gotta enjoy it. You know, I don't like that. I don't like that. Rooting for your team to lose. Why? Why?
I don't like it either, man. Look, we've gone through terrible Knicks teams, and we are here. 51 wins, great season, whether you want to say that or not. Like Knicks 100 GM says in the chat, our third winning season in a row. We are finally at a place right now as a franchise where we are consistently winning, and we have guys signed for multiple seasons, and this is just getting started, in my opinion. So yeah, I think it's dumb that Knicks fans want them to lose because ultimately they're your team, and if anytime you want, the only time I would want the New York Knicks to lose is if in 2019 where the lottery odds. That's when I only root for this Knicks team to lose. Where we could have, Zion, RJ, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to win. But now with the NBA lottery, and that's like neither here or there. But that's the only time I would root for my team to lose, is if to better our lottery odds.
Yeah.
But to root for them to lose because you just want major changes and you want Thibs gone. Look, there's a chance that Thibs could be gone if they win it. Like, come on, man. Week of the playoffs. Let's go. I'm trying to get everyone hyped.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get everyone hyped. Come on, man.
I don't. Yeah.
Come on, man.
You can't root for this team to lose, man. You can't.
Yeah. Come on.
You gotta stick with the team. Root till the end. You don't know what's gonna happen. They might surprise you.
Don't. And we have a Leon Rose, not afraid to make moves. Not afraid, right? 3 major trades in the last 2 years? 3 of them. So not afraid to deviate. So let's hang our hat on that. But no trivia tonight because we talked about a lot. Obviously, we run over hour 16 here now. But yeah, Chris, I guess I can give you a little trivia off the top. So when's the last time this Knicks team played the Detroit Pistons in the playoffs?
Oh, man.
Wait.
Oh, you got to hit the music. Gotcha.
All right, let me give you the options. All right. Was it? Sorry. We're like a little off the rails here. When is the last time the New York Knicks played the Detroit Pistons in the playoffs? Was it 1993? 1992? 1990? Or 1989? All-time head-to-head playoffs.
I'll say 90.
You say 90?
1990. Hit me with the Price is Right, huh? Damn.
It was 92. That doesn't count towards your record, though. I just literally, it was off the dome that I thought about.
Caught me. I wasn't prepared.
Muhammad says 92. Next 2025 to 92. So
I see. I should have waited 1 extra minute. Would have had all the 92s in the chat.
Do you want to guess the box score in that game? Wait, let's just look at it. Let me look at it. Let's look at it. Hold on. All right. Sorry, we're like the podcast is like over right now. We're just messing around. This was the box score in Game 5, 1992 for the Pistons. Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman. Look, they play 8 guys.
John Sally.
There you go. Knicks, Ewing, Xavier McDaniel, Gerald Wilkins, Mark Jackson, Charles Oakley, John Starks, Greg Anthony, Anthony Mason, Kiki Vandeweghe.
Squad right there.
Yep. And I believe the Knicks won this series, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they won 3-2, and that was the final game. So that was the last time this Knicks team played the Pistons team.
Man,
Ewing, 19 boards, 31 points. Okay, Pat.
is that going to be Cat? 1931?
Let's go.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Muhammad says I was 12 years old. Pacers says I hate that I watched that game live. Wow. Shout out to you, Pacers stink. Yeah, Xavier McDaniel. Wow. 19-9. Gerald Wilkins, Mark Jackson. God, look at these. Yo, look how the NBA has changed. Look at these 3-point attempts, Chris. You got 9 on the Knicks and you got 12 on the Pistons. With Isaiah Thomas 3 of 5.
That wouldn't fly nowadays. Well, now it's 3-point shot first, and everything else is forget it.
Wow.
Waste.
Yeah, everything was getting to the free throw line and mid range, and wow. Yeah, that's the last time. So the last time this Knicks team played the Pistons team in the playoffs, we won. Appreciate you guys in the chat, man. Christmas was fun.
Yeah, this was a good one. I enjoyed this. Nervousness and all.
All right, guys. I'll be doing live streams all week long, X Factors and whatnot. So just be on the lookout for the scheduling. Again, appreciate you guys in the chat. Again, go to KnicksNationMedia.com. We have an article up. It previews the Knicks versus the Pistons series. It previews that series. We got Sarah that wrote that, so shout out to her. And it's a very in-depth article, so be on the lookout. I mean, just go to the website. It's live now, KnicksNationMedia.com. Link is in the bio. So in case you guys want to read the article, you guys can. It's I recommend it. It's very thought out and it's very in-depth detail. But yeah, so shout out to that, Chris. But yeah, this was fun, man. This was fun.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff. I'm Anthony from Knicks Nation.
I'm Chris.
Catch you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.